The Constitutional Court of Uganda just recently has legalized marijuana and Mairuni. Take this as a good thing or a bad thing, but let's keep it neutral because on Simply Legal, we like to simplify the law for you creatively. In today's video, we're going to discuss all the legal aspects concerning the making void of the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Control Act of 2015. So, let's go. On Simply Legal, we like to educate and entertain, but mostly to simplify the law for you creatively in the best way for you to understand. And that also includes current events such as marijuana and Mairuni being legal. I was in my office recently and I was able to look at what just happened in the Constitutional Court. Now, before we even go to the act, I've time and time again explained to you the court system in Uganda. Now, we have the Magistrates Court, the Chief Magistrates Court, the High Court, the Constitutional Court, which is still the Court of Appeal. Then we have the Supreme Court. Now, the Constitutional Court, if you've ever taken notice in any of the movies that you watch or the series like Suits or Boston Legal, the courts in any part of the world will either have one judge or 3 judges or 5 judges. Why is that? I think that's a very new concept that I wanted to explain to you on this channel. It's because we need to have an odd number whenever a case is being judged. So a judge can be 1, there can also be 3 judges, there can also be 5 judges. Now, in the case of the Court of Appeal, which is the Constitutional Court, it was found that there were 5 judges. And these 5 judges were presiding over a petition that was brought in 2017. Now, this petition was for the Wakiso Farmers Association of Uganda. Actually, it's the Wakiso Farmers Uganda Limited Association. Now, these farmers lodged a petition stating that the government of Uganda was tight-marking their production, their growing and production and selling of marijuana and Mairuni, stating that marijuana and Mairuni are illegal narcotic drugs. There have been numerous studies all over the world to see whether weed, which is the common name is weed, whether weed, which is marijuana, or mira are actually more detrimental than medicinal. What does that mean? We all know, it's just an open secret, in some hospitals, whenever they are treating cancer patients or maybe patients of meningitis or something, they tend to use small doses of marijuana or mira. Mira is more commonly used here, or it may be used in the rest of the world, but it doesn't maybe necessarily have the name mira. But marijuana is the most common. So marijuana may be used in small doses when it comes to cancer patients to give them that relief, because it is said that marijuana is a strong antioxidant. It releases those feel-good hormones and endorphins. Well, that's what scientists are normally saying. But now back to Uganda. What does this legally mean for Uganda? Does this mean that now weed is going to be sold legally? Does this mean that mira is going to be sold legally? When you look at the act that has been annulled, or the act that has been put void, we now see that other narcotics or substances are going to be used illegally. Now, let us say marijuana and mira are now medicinal. They have, okay, let's take their strong suit, which is their medicinal purpose, and leave out the bad side. But now, without wrong acts which are regulating other drug abuse or other forms of narcotics, it's going to be very difficult to be able to see that youth, especially unemployed youth, are using substances very well. If they're using marijuana and mira, are they also using there's this thing that they inject inside themselves? There are all sorts of drugs. But if there's no strong form of law or no strong form of regulation, then we are going to see abuse of other substances, which is going to lead to death. Are you aware that even famous rappers and celebrities have been taking cough syrup and also a mixture of injections, like drugs which are put inside your body through an injection kind of format? Or maybe you're going to sniff out drugs through a tin foil. So basically, what am I trying to say? If we are legalizing marijuana and mira, how sure are we that people are not going to use us as an excuse to use other drugs? Personally, I don't think this was a good move, because yes, the farmers are growing mira and they're also growing marijuana, but then we need to have some sort of regulation. The Constitutional Court, with the 5 judges who made this act void, I don't think they should have made it void. What they should have done is to amend the law, stating that you can sell marijuana and mira, but you need to sell it in a certain sort of dose or quantity. We need to have a give and take. Many times in this channel I've talked about having a right to do something. Everyone has a right to sell something, but also you must consider the health bit of it. Are people going to be safe in terms of using marijuana? Because now if marijuana is legal, we're going to have so many cases in Butabika or so many cases in in mental facilities, because people are going to overuse this. Human beings do not, sometimes people don't have the right control mechanisms in their mind to know that, okay, this is the right amount of marijuana, it's the right amount of weed. But many times on this channel, I've stated that a judge's gavel or their hammer is very important. Once someone just does this and they're in a judicial position, it's not. So the 5 judges have now all agreed and ruled that this act is now null and void. So I wanted to explain, why was this act made null and void by the Constitutional Court? It's very simple. First of all, whenever an act or a bill, I've always explained what a bill is. A bill is an act which has not yet been passed, but it is intending to bring up a certain form of law, like a new form of law. For example, we've had the computer misuse bill. They want to amend the bill. They wanted to amend the act, but they bring it in form of a bill. A bill is like a child. So the child grows into an act. When that act is now signed by the president, it now becomes an act. So a bill, it first starts with a discussion in parliament. Parliamentarians make the bill. The bill is now discussed in parliament, like you've been seeing the Anti-Homosexuality Bill of 2023. We have looked at the Landlord and Tenant Act. All of them began as, every act you know began as a bill, and now an act. However, even if a bill is now enacted and now made an act in Uganda, it can still be petitioned in court, and the court has the right to make any act null and void. I use this word null and void many times, but what does null and void mean? It means that it has now been rendered useless. The act is no longer there. Once the Constitutional Court or any judge goes in favor of the people who are petitioning this act, then he can just bang his gavel and then say, this act is now no longer in existence. So, what was the reason why the Constitutional Court ruled like that? It's because they stated that in accordance with Article 88 and 89 of the Constitution, it is said that by the time the Narcotics and Psychotropic Substance Control Act of 2015 was being passed or was being enacted into an act, it did not have enough quorum. Now, what does quorum mean? In Parliament, if you've noticed in the news lately, we have had so many controversies around the acts that we are now passing. As you know, the most common one being the Anti-Homosexuality Bill. We found that so many parliamentarians, around 83%, had voted aye, meaning that they are now voting that the bill should now be put into law and it should be enforced. Back to this reason. So the judges of the Constitutional Court were saying that not enough parliamentarians or not enough people were there to state that we want this bill to be put into law. So the other reason is that the Wakiso farmers, the farmers in Wakiso who are part of the umbrella union that petitioned this act, were stating that they are losing business. Number one, they're stating that the people who brought this act are saying that marijuana and mira have a lot of detrimental, it has a lot of detrimental factors about it, like people are dying, people are smoking a lot of weed, they don't know how to control it. But however, there are also medicinal uses of marijuana and mira. So that was their strong point. They're losing business, they're growing a lot of mira and marijuana. The fact that government enacted this law in 2015, it means that they're not growing enough produce, they're not selling this. They have already invested a lot of capital into their farms which have mira and marijuana. So basically they cannot even export it outside, because in developed countries they use marijuana and mira in hospitals, especially due to a lot of cancer patients all over the world. So I wanted to explain to you what this whole thing about weed being legalized is all about. As a lawyer, I would like to explain that we have our right to petition something. As a judicial officer, I would like to appeal to all of our judicial officers, our judges. By the time you make an act null and void, you must first think to yourself, what was the purpose of bringing the Narcotics Controlled Drug Act of 2015? What was their purpose of bringing it? Was it to safeguard Ugandans? Because according to the Constitution, the government of Uganda has a right to protect its citizens. And I think that's where this act came into play, because if we have no control mechanism of drug control all over Uganda, then we're going to continue losing lives. We're going to have so many suicide effects. So I think it's a give and take. Can we consider the businesses of these marijuana and mira growers, the fact that yes, they're growing the economy, but vis-a-vis, is it to the cost of the general public now that weed is going to be legalized? So I just wanted to explain everything concerning that, and let's just see where the future of our country goes. But until next time, I remain yours truly, Terry Kahuma. Please feel free to hit the subscribe button, hit the comment section, and most importantly, tell me what you thought about this video. Do you think it was right for this act to be considered null and void? Do you think that this act should have been left just like that? Do you think we should have just amended it a little bit to have certain control measures of how much marijuana and mira are being supplied into the economy? Well, let's just see how everything will go. But until next time, I'll see you. Bye.